In the last 3 years, I was dealing mainly with databases. It was a new challenge for me, and as far as I know, to find a database tester is just a little bit easier than to find a white elephant. Testing databases is an important task, but less widespread in practice. Usually testers have no knowledge about database testing, therefore I would like to share my experiences. I will show you a view of a complex business logic intensive database application. What was the challenges? Our approach for effectively monitoring database activities, and what was the task as a DBQA. Let's see this application. I was working on a hotel pricing and revenue management system, which is working with large amount of data, means millions of records from heterogeneous data sources. The UI is just a parameterization configuration. There are scheduled batch processing are running in the system as ETL, extract, transfer, and load processes. In general, the extraction phase aims to convert the data into a single format appropriate for transformation processing. Each separate system may use different data structure and/or organization. In our system, some of the data is, some of the sources are mirrored. Okay, I think I cannot usually. So, make the system more robust and faster. Because of the large amount, data is loaded incrementally. CDC means change data capture, identifies and tracks the changes anywhere in the database to source data, and then those could be applied to target data in the rest of the database. In the next phase, data is transformed into a proper format for querying analysis, means cleaning, aggregation, and views. Finally, data is loaded to the final target database. In our case, it is a pricing and a reporting system. There are forecast algorithms in the system. Based on historical data and trends, statistical algorithms are predicting the future, taking into account different parameters. So as you see, it is much more than just storing the data and giving it back, as IT people often think about databases. Have you got any idea, some similar areas? Let's say flight ticket or travel industry in general, or any decision support making system like credit, insurance, or financial investment. These are similar because need to predict the future. Let's see the challenge. Trustworthy forecast is the most important for the business users, so therefore the key is data quality and reliability. Challenge for our database developers is the dirty source data, which require data cleansing, the process of detecting incomplete, inaccurate, irrelevant part of the data, then modifying, replacing, or deleting these. Other one is data synchronization. Have to take care about the integrity. Data from different source systems are loaded separately, and it could take for a longer while. We have processes executed in seconds, but there are ones which executed in several hours. Imagine when it needs to restart because of a failure. Other one is system is not documented. What I mean, this is a sample of a mirrored table. There is no separate documentation, and as you see, there are no comments at all. There are no foreign keys. Columns are not very talkative, and the top of all left, and the top of all developers left the company, so knowledge is lost. Required reverse engineering. Our database developers has gated approach and solution to handle these challenges and make the testing much easier. However, there is a big question just on testing side. How to test a complex algorithm and improve the test of the business. That will be the last part of my presentation. So let's see first our approach this for effective monitoring. Extra metadata is added for very precise logging of activities. Processes, incremental loads, and aggregations are logged. Each run is stored in the log. Processes in a tree structure by an activity ID. The hierarchical activities are traceable. This activity ID is added to store data as well, to know which process and when modify the data. Historical data is kept. Valid2 is included as well. Integrated scheduled validations are checking data quality and result of activities. These extra things are not a new thing. This is the ideal solution in data warehouse environment. However, even there it is not always like this. In smaller data mart environment like ours, it is really exceptional. Still, I suggest to take this extra effort, as this is the precondition of effective testing and good data quality. We called Daily Health Check our reporting solution, which shows the result of processes and validations, and much more. This is a heuristic tool also, which helped us to find unexpected issues in testing phase. Let's see these in details. This is a sample of process log of a validation which was successful. As you see, the activity level 1, this means this is the root process, and other ones are the sub-processes of this. And if you see, this was successful. Let's see the first row in details. I mentioned the activity code, this level. Obviously, there is no parent activity ID because it was the top one. There is a result message and the result status, which is successful. Let's see another one when there was an error. The top row shows there were some errors. And if you see bottom, there are a few lines which wasn't successful. Let's see one of them. As you see in the result message, it's longer, you cannot see it very well, but there's an SQL query, and when you execute it, you are starting debugging what has happened. And these are checksum-like validations, because we are not joining 100 million rows, just some text checksum-like validations. And as you see, the actual value and reference value is not the same. So it is the starting point to find this issue. So we have this great sophisticated logging, but how to report the result. Existing monitoring frameworks were hard to feed with proper input data. These tools like Cacti and Nagios, not database specific, there is no support for collecting data from database. Have their own database that should be fed. In our case, it is like shooting a sparrow with a cannon, because 80% of the work would be to suit these frameworks. And last, there wasn't any reporting solution in the project. And as you know, it's not an easy thing to convince the customer to buy a new tool. So we decided we will create an HTML report, which is readable for anyone without any special tool, even can send by email. The result of SQL query is saved in XML format. And from these, an HTML report is generated with XSL. And this is the dashboard part of it. List of questions. The answer is a 3-state displayed with this icon. These are based on KPI values, usually numeric values with predefinable limits. To find these thresholds was the smart part. Need to brainstorming and a lot of discussions. It has different parts. There are the components, system status, processes, basic information. It's much longer than it could be fit here. This is just a sample of it. And in the node part, there are some hints, make it understandable for the business. And if you click on an icon, you can get the raw data, which is used to calculate these KPI values. This usually based on the log activities, but not always. This raw data is much, much longer and bigger. I just wanted to show you a sample. And you see the result, whether it was successful, warning, or something has happened. The last 30 run is stored, and the haze of the column is the execution time. So it is actually monitoring the execution time. And for example, here you see could not execute something for a very long while, and it could be just a timeout. And here, this one, everything was successful, but there was one case when it took very, very long time. If it was just one case and after that it was everything okay, we didn't care it too much. There is another important thing. There is after last release and before last release, number of success, number of failures, whether it was executed or not. And we are using this for regression testing, because if after last release a new issue appeared which haven't appeared before that, it is almost sure that it belongs to this release. And if it was earlier and after that could execute it successfully, then we think it is the assumption that everything is all right, and maybe just have to keep our eye on this report to check it day by day. Okay. We have a sophisticated logging. We have this great report. It helps a lot of things. There are a lot of validations. What are the tasks of a DBQA after that? Well, do not think the task of a DBQA is nothing more like this. Actually, I just want you to be awakened, and it was told to me a pretty woman should be somewhere in the presentation. I don't want to be so discriminative, so there are some handsome men too. Similar as usual testing, there are different types and levels of testing. There is functional testing of modified and new features. The way of functional testing differs according to the feature. The request could be from a very small change to a complex new algorithm. Bug fix validations are easier in general because bugs has repro steps. Of course, need to think about the side effects. There are regression tests also. The scheduled validations are checking a lot of things. It is running during the night when the load is lower, and by the morning the result is there. So you can count this solution as an automated regression, and the importance of before and after last release has importance here. There are non-functional testing also. Performance testing has emphasized, performance is emphasized in database. Our report checking execution times, as you see, so we could solve this with that one. I mentioned several times data quality, which is a specialty in database. Could review in planning phase, could check the constraints, and that's why we have validations, a lot of validations. Actually, data quality is more than just this one, like aggregation and data cleaning belongs to this one also, but it's more on developer side. That's why I'm not listed here. But as I mentioned, this sophisticated logging is a precondition of good data quality. Just to list, as we are not using this, there are unit testing also in database. There are tools supporting for automating and semi-automated testing of PL/SQL code. Schema comparison and data comparison are special tests in database. The IDEs and framework offer solution for these two. So as you see, almost everything is covered with the solution that you see up to now. There's only one question left, this complex algorithm. What I mean a complex algorithm? What you see in the screen is just a small part of the whole code, which is longer than be able to see this in the scrollable part, and it is almost 600 rows. There are a lot of different tables, joins with different kind of joins. There are cases, filters to give thresholds. So I think we could say it's a complex algorithm, and to understand the output is not very easy. And we have arrived for the big question: how to test this complex algorithm? It was the main challenge of testing. Okay, let's think a little bit. We have a lot of input data and parameters. So it seems as data-driven testing, we just need to find the expected result for a lot of combinations. Should we develop another application containing the same algorithm, let's say in Java? No way. It will be understandable for developers only, hiding the algorithm, and a great potential for error. We should test on a higher level, on the way the business should be able to see and understand the correctness of these complex algorithms and to see clearly what is the expected result. Business should understand. Business use Excel. Yes, they are using Excel for everything, for anywhere. We just put a lot of data into the spreadsheet. Oh no, this man got mad. I fear using something like this. And you really don't want to be in a situation like this guy, who has a great chance to make mistakes. Okay, cool down for a while, and let's think about how we can use the Excel in an efficient way. Maybe, just maybe, it's not so terrible idea. As you see, by default, if there are a lot of numbers, without anything, even a small thing is not really understandable what the heck it is doing and what is this. But in Excel, you can do a lot of things. For example, you can add notes. In this case, it's a step-by-step guide what to do and how to do. First, need to execute a separate huge SQL query, need to copy the result and paste it here. These are the input data and the parameters. So, and there is one really nice thing. There is a possibility to use name table. And if you use a name table and you select it, it's not just one cell, it is the whole table. And if it is a name table, instead of cell IDs, column names are used as parameters. And it is really a parameter because you need to define the formula only for one row, and it will belongs to the whole table. And what we are doing here is this green part. Based on source data, we are calculating very, very small interim results, just really few lines. And because these terms are used by business, it has a meaning, they understood it very easily. And they can check it step by step based on the source data, whether is it right or not. And step by step, we are finally getting the expected result, which is really necessary for testing. Of course, we can query the actual result from the database, and we just need to compare these. And because there is a filter, you can easily filter whether there was a failure or not. You can easily find the rows with failure. In our case, it meant that 40,000 rows could be tested and checked in a quarter an hour, which is really a great access. Before this solution, only just sample line was selected, and that line was only tested, maybe in the same time, but we have a lot of scenarios, a lot of combinations we had to test. So, what you can take away? Database testing is hard because of complex, because of heterogeneous data sources, because of large amount of data, because of ETL, extract, transform, load processes, which could be very complex algorithms. Hard to understand for the business. Our solution offers sophisticated logging of activities, monitor data, scheduled validations, and an HTML report, which is a heuristic tool also. And Excel can be used to make complex things simple. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gabor. And I think we have like 2 minutes, so maybe we can have one question answered. So, let's take the first one. So, what tools, frameworks would you recommend for PLSQL unit testing?
I could not recommend you because I'm not up to date about it, and because it was a big company, and as you know, it was a very old version of Oracle. So if I need it, I would ask our developers because they are much more expert in this. So I cannot answer this question.
Okay, let's take the other one. Maybe that's also a quick one. So how long does the daily health check take to run?
It's not just the daily health check because it is just the reporting. There were different validations. For example, there was validation time to time to compare the result of incremental loads with a full load. And it was executed like once a month. For example, there was daily executed things, there was weekly executing things. But usually I would say it was 4 hours, so it could fit during a night. It was planned in a way that.
Okay, thank you very much. And don't forget to vote for the session. So this is very important for the conference. It's also very important for the speakers. And thank you, Gabor, for being here and talking us about the database challenge.